Scatter graphs or scatter plots are two-dimensional ways of showing data, and the visualization of each dot is a participant, and it represents the values obtained for two different variables. So in the example, we have sprint times, the difference in sprint times from static and flying in seconds. So each dot is a participant, and you can see the two different variables. One along the x-axis is static sprint, and the y is flying sprint. So you can clearly see, say for the anomaly all the way out on the right, that their static sprint time in seconds was probably around like 7.23, and then their flying sprint time, however, was 1.65, 1.66. So you can use scatter graph to clearly show, say, like a participant who's done two different tests, where they'd fit simply on one graph. Next is line graphs, which show you how things have changed over time. They're used when you have data that's connected. It can show trends as well. So the example given is the difference in bicep and triceps in skin fold caliper tests in centimeters. So again, we've got along the bottom, the key shows that the bluey green is the biceps in millimeters, and the skin fold calipers, centimeters, sorry, and the skin fold calipers are in the yellow. And along the bottom is the participant. So you can clearly see when you look at the graph the difference in size of each participant's bicep and tricep simply by looking at the dot, the bottom dot, and then the different coloured dot above it. Bar graphs are used to show numbers that are independent of each other. An example might include, for this we've got sit and reach. So each participant's sit and reach score is independent of each other, so they can be displayed like this. A box and whisker plot graph, or sometimes called a box plot, is a graph that represents information from a 5-number summary. It does not show a distribution in as much detail as other graphs, like a histogram does, but it's especially useful for indicating whether a distribution is skewed and whether there are potential unusual observations or outliers in the dataset. Box and whisker plots are also very useful when using large groups of people, and when two or more data sets are being compared. So, for example, we've got the difference between arm and thigh girth, and you can clearly see that the difference in size between the thigh girth and the upper arm girth using the box plot and whisker. Next is a histogram, and this is a specific type of bar chart where the categories are ranges of numbers, and then histograms show continuous data. This one shows the distance of a chest throw in centimeters. So along the bottom we have the distance in centimeters, and up the left we have participants. The normal distribution curve, or a bell curve, is the most common type of distribution for a variable and is thus considered to be a normal distribution. The highest point of the curve, or the top of the bell, represents the most probable event in a series of data, as the majority of the data sits there, and then either way, left or right of the peak, there's less collected data for those bits, which gives it the bell shape.